Dead Battles Among Us vs Fall Guys is probably the best version of Among Us vs Fall Guys that Dead Battle could have ever done. Now, I am aware of how passive aggressive that phrasing may sound, but trust me, I do mean it in a positive manner, and by the end of this review, you'll fully see why. This is not a standard episode, so I won't do a standard review, but I will cover all the bases I usually cover. And it will be my last full Dead Battle video for this year. In 2025, I plan to finally bring y'all the quote, other stuff too whenever I say I do Dead Battle but other stuff too, so subscribe if you care about both. That said, hi, I'm Uncle Krypton. I do Dead Battle but other stuff too, so subscribe if you care about both. Let's get into the review. To introduce these games by calling them 2020's worldwide viral sensation is low-key pretty wild. But if it is what it takes to bring back the core connection first, introductions later into a system, I'll gladly take it. As they went over the physiology, habitat, variations and habits of these crazy space beings, and even if it was mostly for comedy, I realized that this episode might just have the best species compositing in the show. The last time it didn't work too well, but the way they handle it here really gives me hope for a possible Xenomorph vs Demogorgon in the future. And that's not the only matchup in my most wanted list I thought of during this episode, more on that later. Now, don't get me wrong, it is nice to have Wits, Boomstick and the crew making a fun, hey, we're doing the thing people do in this game, reference that I actually get for once, having played Among Us for the first time shortly before this episode, but I'm sorry, this part drags. I'm not saying I know how I would shorten it, but I just can't help but feel like how you're supposed to feel when they sing happy birthday to you. You just nod your head, chuckle occasionally, hope for it to be over, no, it's over, thank goodness. And when it is, I absolutely love the music they put in the background. I wanna say it's very disco-esque. It has the same vibe as that one Lazy Rider Simpson couch gag. But I don't know if it is describing it as just 80s feel would be an oversimplification or not. I mean, that's exactly when the thing came out, which Among Us very much takes after, so that's clever. Kind of like how they managed to organically get the words Among Us into the script 3 freaking times, which is just hilarious. The humor in general in these breakdowns might unironically be some of the best in the show's history. The line delivery, banter, reactions to bewildering discoveries that the human mind might not be ready for, it's all funnier than the entire joke episodes for me. I mean things like referring to Among Us non-Fortnite obscure crossovers as the classics, this whole ending beat, the clever transition between the imagination powers given by the SpongeBob-esque pencil and the phenomenon of Mogus being literally everywhere at one point, almost as if they drew themselves into reality and we lost all sanity for it. Oh, there goes gravity. The overall ending, however, is surprisingly awesome. And for all my jokes about the Mogus being the cursed creatures, I was not ready for Fall Guys being the vastly wilder of the two though. Right off the bat we're introduced to some, god I can't describe music today, it sounds like Adventure Time music, you know, cute, energetic, fizzy, exactly like the music in Fall Guys. This breakdown in general feels like everything the Mogus one wanted to be or do, but better. The short bit with just saying get away from me while they're playing Fall Guys is much funnier than the Sassy Baka segment. Divine Boom's usage is actually amusing, the way Boomstick kinda makes fun of Dead Battle's tendency to bring up feats that make the ones mentioned previously meaningless, realizing it mid-script to boot, and the funniest episode in the episode bar none is his horrifying realization and denial when Witz solemnly confirms that Fall Guys indeed feel the breeze between their knees 24/7 for every match of Ultimate Knockout they play. The 2020 joke about Doomslayer and Isabel, referencing the old Doom Crossing thingy, was really cute, in contrast to the revelations of what lies inside the Fall Guys' body, which was really horrifying. But nothing, and I mean nothing, beats Twitter scaling being a thing on Death Battle. Not the first social media statement that plays a part in the outcome, mind you, but like, this perfectly captures this episode for me. It's silly, but so brilliantly silly that you just wind up admiring its proud nonsense energy. Kinda like Witt's reaction about just them being Pac-Man. They turn into Pac-Man. It sure went a long way from the last yellow abomination he analyzed. First things first, Killua x Misaka who? Bowser Jr. x Sage who? Yellow x Blue is the ultimate Dead Battle ship as far as I'm concerned. Look, not even that can stop their love. Now, the transition between the Among Us side of things and the Fall Guys side of things isn't the smoothest thing ever. In fact, it kinda feels as if they just give up on one for the other. But if I got it right, the imposter killed the crewmate who was about to fix the ship generator, prompting it to fail and eject everyone. It works, I guess, unlike the few animation bits I gotta nitpick over. Small stuff and otherwise very well animated project, but I don't think the 2D sprites look great when you tilt the camera here. They literally feel as if they were made of paper instead of occupying 3 dimensions. And I know you can avoid this problem because I've seen the Freshy Canal Turtles vs Ghostbusters rap battle do exactly that recently. And these steals definitely comes off as budget saving, themselves being saved by stuff like the immediate establishing of the Mogus being essentially made of wet paper compared to these big bang busters who just get knocked around. They still could have added a little bit more movement, even just in a slideshow fashion, especially when the rest of the animation goes from adorably fun to why is this so hard, oh my god. Speaking of whys and hows, this squeaky sound effect mixed to the music going da 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 somehow managed to uncurse an otherwise cursed GIF and is now the equivalent of a puppy doing the nene while being perfectly aware that it's doing the nene. Does that make sense? Is this a battle where making sense is your actual concern, my dude? There is some clever thinking going on behind the scenes, however, specifically regarding Dark Purple Fall Guy. You can see that it takes a while to start panicking compared to everyone else, even doing a shushing gesture to the camera. Not only the later revealed to be the red imposter with a pretty clean shapeshifting sequence, but the specific sprite is confirmed to be based around another killer who puts on a friendly facade to lure his victims, William Afton from FNAF 2, making this the first ever official Afton acknowledgement in that battle history, in the same animation that contains a blatant Danganronpa reference. At this point, they're edging me so hard regarding a potential Joker Trap episode that I'm pretty sure I can cut 2 diamonds now. Speaking of horrific gore, however, my god is this hilariously abrupt in this fight. The way this poor fella was just hacking the obstacle course just explodes makes me go, ah Jesus! The way Fall Guy's tunnel vision regarding the crown motivates him to dodge an attack he wasn't even aware of gave me major unlocking kung fu from his love for food energy. The way they managed to integrate Fall Guy's ridiculously superior durability advantage into such an hilarious moment where imposter deadass thinks there's something wrong with his knife before stabbing himself with it to see if it works is another brilliant example of synergy between the animation and the breakdown, which this season has been doing a really great job on. In general, this battle masters mute comedy in a very effective way, not to mention the memes. Naruto Run There, Minecraft here, JoJo, Up, Fortnite, He-Man. I swear, I thought we were gonna get a Nicolas Cage slap reference in this fight, as this segment has basically the exact same energy. Staying in the realm of references, because my god does this fight love to, you might find it a bit weird that the angry stickman teleporter seemingly worked without backfiring, but if you see the entirety of this fight as a scenario of using such teleporter, it technically did just that, just much later. Then in the present, however, this whole part where everyone leaves the scoreboard to just literally fall into the crossover madness is the undisputed highlight of this animation. It's like a mini Bowser vs Eggman from how much there is going on. Orange turns into Pac-Man, brown shields the crown from yellow, who then fires an Hadouken before being disintegrated by red's planetary laser gun, even though I don't think it should be able to, it's planetary versus universal, but no biggie. Then Pac-Man and the silent ghost he was consuming go through the same fate as Pink flees from the scene with the TARDIS, declaring to have the power as he heroically slices Red's gun. In the midst of all this, you can apparently spot Unicron, Galactus and Space Hawaii somewhere in the background and the Oh Yeah constellation, meaning Among Us vs Fall Guys takes place in the same universe as a good chunk of season 9 and 10. Oh, and were you planning on sleeping tonight? Too bad. Points to the imposter for valuing fair play and letting go of his weapon when Pink did. I mean, it doesn't look like he needed, because look at him. Bro got that adrenaline momentum. Pink's imagination spots are very well drawn. Major props to the artworks, even just a brief sequence. And just funny how his tunnel vision for the crown is credited as a negative when the fight presents the exact opposite. Which is funny enough the reverse of the last time tunnel vision was brought up in the show, since Bill's no-nonsense attitude towards other cosmic beings is pointed as an advantage, but in the final animation it actually ended up blinding him to Discord's Giga Brain move. It's just fun to point out. But between Pink forcing something inside the imposter's mouth, getting a second wind rage boost in space, and Ink seemingly being traumatized by the bloodiness of his own actions, I can spot at least 3 different layers of invincible memes in this. Very funny since the Dead Battle subreddit currently was on a "your time is up" meme train before the episode aired, only for the same episode to deliver a semi-version of that. Now that's funny on its own, but Pink default dancing over his opponent's entrails is just so wild that it winds back into that brand of admirable nonsense I mentioned earlier. You could argue that it's a bit out there for this character or episode, but I'd like to remind you that doing anything to get the crown is the literal premise of Fall Guys, whose developer officially confirmed that they could rip a human in half if it meant getting the crown, but they would rather use non-violent options first, which fits with Pink Angstorm levying Red to death, following this horrified reaction before he snaps out of it, as I guess the crown resets its factory settings to victory again. I don't know, man, to me it just works. But the fact that Pac-Man, a crossover element, end up being such a brilliant advantage over the Among Us Going Ghost, it just, number 1, not a shot of brilliant comedy gold, and number 2, really makes me ponder how the blazes the land or crossover stuff for Hulk vs Godzilla. I reiterate that the research for that one they're probably doing right now must be a nightmare of radioactive proportions. How the hell they handle compositing them both with how many crossovers Godzilla's gotten. In general, I really love how this whole episode captures the whole beware the silly ones trope, starting with these colorful space beans just goofing around before devolving into a cosmic death tool. Speaking of themes, Sassy Beans, yes, that's an actual title we have, wow, is a straight up Fall Guys track with various shades of Among Us sprinkled here and there, resulting in an unsurprisingly catchy tune that even incorporates some Wubba Lubba Iron Z shortly after the TARDIS pops into the fight, and also Fortnite. The narrative side of things is pretty straightforward. The Mogus pack a lot of literal heat and are generally more about trickery and stealth rather than durability, whereas the Fall Guys don't fight at all besides grabbing and shoving, but the durability pretty much makes all attacks against them moot. Therefore the team is a good old glass cannon vs stone wall. The biggest element you can take out of Fall Guys vs Among Us is that the Death Battle crew is perfectly able to craft a really fun and enjoyable episode with its own identity in every aspect, even from relatively very little material. In this case, using crossover stuff in clever ways and just the very existence of Twitter scaling. This opens the door in the future for other series and franchises with a similar scarcity problems to be on the show, my go-to example always being the SCP Foundation. I'm growing very fond of 096 vs Toru in recent times, but in general this episode made me happy. Not just because it's a strong contender for some of the funniest writing in the show, not just because the next time is the hypest I've been for a Death Battle episode in a while, but because when I finished watching this episode, I realized I finished watching a triumph of art and creativity regardless of strict parameters, which low-key sums up this whole season in a nutshell. Speaking of, I intend to post my season 2024 ranking video shortly before the next season starts, since I want any trace of recency bias to fully wear off first. And I have a video in mind specifically for Kratos vs Asura 2, if it all goes to plan. If it all goes to plan, I should upload both the weekend before season 25 starts. But between now and there, as I said, I plan to finally sprinkle in some diverse content on this channel. And it would mean the world to me if y'all could support my non-Death Battle stuff too. My Q&A video getting this many views alone is a win in my book, so I'm not asking for Death Battle review numbers. Even just 1k views marks a success in my eyes. I'm also definitely gonna be busy working on my 100 video special, which y'all voted to be my top 10 favorite Death Battle episodes. So far, I surprisingly managed to gather 14 episodes I want to talk about in that video, so either I'll turn it into a top 15 or leave the others for honorable mentions, and right now I'm torn on what the hell to do next. Well, you know which approach I decided to go with once I uploaded, but until then, doing lots of water, I'll do the same. Oko Kriton, hoping I made your 2024 slightly better. See you next year.